Okay, let's read Chapter 10. Chapter 10 starts and says, I walked down the hall in a daze. Dallas had taken the car, and I started the long walk home in a stupor. Stupor is where you're not unconscious, but you sort of don't know what's going on around you. Johnny was dead, but he wasn't. That still body back in the hospital wasn't Johnny. Johnny was somewhere else, maybe asleep in the lot, or playing the pinball machine in the bowling alley, or sitting on the back steps of the church in Windricksville. I'd go home and walk by the lot, and Johnny would be sitting on the curb smoking a cigarette, and maybe we'd lie on our backs and watch the stars. He isn't dead, I said to myself. He isn't dead. And this time my dreaming worked. I convinced myself that he wasn't dead. I must have wandered around for hours, sometimes even going out into the street getting honked at and cussed out. I might have stumbled around all night, except for a man who asked me if I wanted a ride. Huh? Oh, yeah, I guess so, I said. I got in. The man, who was in his mid-20s, looked at me. Are you all right, kid? You look like you've been in a fight. I have been. A rumble. I'm okay. Johnny is not dead, I told myself, and I believed it. Hate to tell you this, kiddo, the guy said dryly, but you're bleeding all over my car seats. I blinked. I am? Your head. I reached up to scratch the side of my head where it had been itching for a while, and when I looked at my hand, it was smeared with blood. Gosh, mister, I'm sorry, I said, dumbfounded. Don't worry about it. This wreck has been through worse. What's your address? I'm not about to dump a hurt kid out on the streets this time of night. I told him. He drove me to my house, and I got out. Thanks a lot. What was left of our gang was in the living room. Steve was stretched out on the sofa, his shirt unbuttoned and his side bandaged. His eyes were closed, but when the door shut behind me, he opened them, and I suddenly wondered if my own eyes looked as feverish and bewildered as his. Soda had a wide cut on his lip and a bruise across his cheek. There was a Band-Aid over Darry's forehead, and he had a black eye. One side of Two-Bit's face was taped up. I found out later he had 4 stitches in his cheek, and 7 in his hand where he'd busted his knuckles open over a Sosha's head. They were lounging around, reading the paper and smoking. Where's the party, I thought dully. Weren't Soda and Steve planning a party after the rumble? They all looked up when I walked in. Darry leaped to his feet. Where have you been? Let's don't start that again, I thought. He stopped suddenly. Ponyboy, what's the matter? I looked at all of them, a little frightened. Johnny, he's dead. My voice sounded strange, even to me. But he's not dead, a voice in my head said. We told him about beating the Soshas, and, I don't know, he just died. He told me to stay gold, I remembered. What was he talking about? There was a stricken silence. I don't think any of us had realized how bad off Johnny had been. Soda made a funny noise and looked like he was going to start crying. Two-Bit's eyes were closed and his teeth were clenched. And I suddenly remembered Darry pounding on the wall. Dallas is gone, I said. He ran out like the devil was after him. He's going to blow up. He couldn't take it. How can I take it, I wondered. Dallas is tougher than I am. Why can I take it and Darry can't? And then I knew. Johnny was the only thing Dallas loved, and now Johnny was gone. So he finally broke. Two-Bit spoke everyone's feeling. So even Dallas has a breaking point. I stopped shaking. Darry said something in a low voice to Soda. Ponyboy, Soda said softly, like he was talking to an injured animal, you look sick. Sit down. I backed up, just like a frightened animal, shaking my head. I'm okay. I felt sick. I felt as if any minute I was going to fall flat on my face, but I shook my head. I don't want to sit down. Darry took a step towards me, but I backed away. Don't touch me, I said. My heart was pounding in slow thumps, throbbing at the side of my head, and I wondered if everyone else could hear it. Maybe that's why they're all looking at me, I thought. They can hear my heart beating. The phone rang, and after a moment's hesitation, Darry turned from me to it. He said, hello, and then listened. He hung up quickly. It was Dallas. He phoned from a booth. He's just robbed a grocery store, and the cops are after him. We gotta hide him. He'll be in the lot in a minute. We all left the house at a dead run, even Steve, and I wondered vaguely why no one was doing somersaults off the steps this time. Things were sliding in and out of focus, and it seemed funny to me that I couldn't run in a straight line. So, of course, if you haven't guessed yet, our main character, Ponyboy, he does have a concussion, and that's why he's so messed up. And he probably had a concussion before the fight started. That's why he was taking all that Tylenol, fistfuls of Tylenol, before the rumble started. And that's, of course, even worse. If you have a concussion, getting punched in the head a whole bunch is not good for you. We reached the vacant lot just as Dallas came in, running as hard as he could from the opposite direction. The wail of a siren grew louder, and then a police car pulled up across the street from the lot. Doors slammed as the policeman leaped out. Dallas had reached the circle of light under the street lamp and skidded to a halt. He turned and jerked a black object from his waistband. I remembered his voice. "I've been carrying a heater, a gun. It ain't loaded, but it sure does help a bluff." It was only yesterday that Dallas had told Johnny and me that, but yesterday was years ago, a lifetime ago. Dallas raised the gun, and I thought, "You blasted fool. They don't know you're bluffing." And even as the policeman's gun spit fire into the night, I knew that was what Dallas wanted. He was jerked halfway around by the impact of the bullets, then slowly crumpled with a look of grim triumph on his face. He was dead before he hit the ground, but I knew that was what he wanted, even as the lot echoed with the crack of shots, even as I begged silently, "Please, not him and Johnny both." I knew he would be dead, because Dallas Winston wanted to be dead, and he always got what he wanted. Nobody would write editorials praising Darry. 2 friends of mine had died that night, one a hero, the other a hoodlum. But I remembered Dallas pulling Johnny through the window of the burning church, Dallas giving us his gun, although it could mean jail for him, Dallas risking his life for us, trying to keep Johnny out of trouble, and now he was a dead juvenile delinquent, and there wouldn't be any editorials in his favor. Darry didn't die a hero. He died violent and young and desperate, just like we all knew he'd die someday. Just like Tim Shepard and Curly Shepard and the Brumley boys and the other guys we knew would die someday. But Johnny was right. He died gallant. Gallant means brave. So this might be a little bit tough for you guys to understand a little bit. What Dallas did, he did something that has an actual term for it, unfortunately. It's called suicide by cop. And it's where you provoke the police into shooting you. You kind of trick the police into shooting you by acting like you're going to shoot them. And some people do that because they don't want to kill themselves. They want, someone else to do it, kind of a thing. And so for Dallas doing this, it fits with his personality. He's such an outlaw, and he's such an angry rebel that he's just gonna, he's gonna make the police shoot him down in the street, kind of a thing. He has an unloaded gun. But it's one of those things in the book too, and that's why the book is written that way. It's not written all cool and heroic or anything like that, because the end of Dallas's story is just really, really sad. That's it. He was this kid who had parents that didn't care for him, and basically was essentially a criminal at age 10, in and out of prison all the time, had no options at all in his life. He had no kindness inside him, not really, just for somebody like Johnny, but generally Dallas was just, in any other book, he'd be a bad guy. He'd be one of the villains that our characters have to run away from or escape because he's this bully, he's this criminal, all this other stuff. But in this book, we get to know the good side of him. And really sadly, he was one of the heroes of the burning church. He was the one who pulled, Johnny out of the flame, and he burned up his left arm horribly, and he tried to put Ponyboy out when he was, on fire. He helped them escape and all this kind of stuff. And so we got to see that good, loyal, brave side of him. But to see him die this way, it's just really sad and pointless. And that's how Ponyboy feels right here. But also, it makes sense, because that's the way it is. Dallas lost the most important person in the world to him, and he's so angry at the world, he's going to do something to get back at it. So he goes and robs a store because he knows robbing the store might make the police come. And then he can, now the police are coming, well, just, forget everything. I'm just going to make the police shoot me. And it's such a sad, short-sighted way to live. Because remember, Dallas is not that much older than you all. He's, I can't remember the book. He's 17 or 18. He's not very old at all to die like this. And it's just, like I said, it's just sad. Steve stumbled forward with a sob, but Soda caught him by the shoulders. "Easy, buddy, easy," I heard him say softly. "There's nothing we can do now. Nothing we can do. Not for Dallas or Johnny or Tim Shepard or any of us." My stomach gave a violent start and turned into a hunk of ice. The world was spinning around me, and blobs of faces and visions of things past were dancing in the red mist that covered the lot. It swirled into a mass of colors, and I found myself swaying on my feet. Someone cried, "Glory, look at the kid!" And the ground rushed up to meet me very suddenly. Part of having a concussion, you might pass out. Time passes. When I woke up, it was light. It was awfully quiet. Too quiet, I mean. Our house isn't just naturally quiet. The radio's usually going full blast, and the TV is turned up loud, and people are wrestling and knocking over lamps or tripping over the coffee table and yelling at each other. Something was wrong, and I couldn't quite figure it out. Something had happened. I couldn't remember what. I blinked at Soda bewilderingly. He was sitting on the edge of the bed watching me. Soda. My voice sounded weak and hoarse. Is somebody sick? Yeah. His voice was oddly gentle. Go back to sleep now. An idea was slowly dawning on me. Am I sick? He stroked my hair. Yeah, you're sick. Now be quiet. I had one more question. I was still kind of mixed up. Is Darry sorry I'm sick? I had a funny feeling that Darry was sad because I was sick. Everything seemed vague and hazy. Soda gave me a funny look. He was quiet for a moment. Yeah, he's sorry you're sick. Now please, shut up, will you? Go back to sleep. I closed my eyes. I was awful tired. Time passes again. When I woke up next, it was daylight, and I was hot under all the blankets on me. I was thirsty and hungry, but my stomach was so uneasy, I knew I wouldn't be able to hold anything down. Darry had pulled up the armchair into the bedroom, and he was asleep on it. He should be at work, I thought. Why is he asleep in the armchair? Hey, Darry, I said softly, shaking his knee. Hey, Darry, wake up. He opened his eyes. Ponyboy, you okay? Yeah, I said. I think so. Something had happened, but I still couldn't remember it, although I was thinking a lot clearer than I was the last time I had waked up. He sighed in relief and pushed my hair back. Gosh, kid, you had us scared to death. What was the matter with me? He shook his head. I told you were in no condition for a rumble. Exhaustion, shock, minor concussion, and Two-Bit came blubbering over here with some tale about how you were running a fever before the rumble and how it was all his fault that you were sick. He was pretty torn up that night, Darry said. He was quiet for a minute. We all were. And then I remembered. Dallas and Johnny were dead. Don't think of them, I thought. Don't remember how Johnny was your buddy. Don't remember that he didn't want to die. Don't think of Dallas breaking up in the hospital, crumpling under the streetlight. Try to think that Johnny is better off now. Try to remember that Dallas would have ended up like that sooner or later. Best of all, don't think. Blank your mind. Don't remember. Don't remember. Where'd I get a concussion? I said. My head itched, but I couldn't scratch it for the bandage. How long have I been asleep? Got a concussion from getting kicked in the head. Soda saw it. He landed all over that Soch. I've never seen him so mad. I think he could have whipped anyone in the state he was in. Today's Tuesday, and you've been asleep and delirious since Saturday night. Don't you remember? No, I said slowly. Darry, I'm not going to be able to make it up to the school I've missed. But I've still got to go to court and talk to the police about Bob's getting killed, and now, with Dallas, I took a deep breath. Darry, do you think they'll split us up? Put me in a home or something? He was silent. I don't know. I just don't know. I stared at the ceiling. What would it be like, I wondered, staring at a different ceiling? What would it be like in a different bed in a different room? There was a hard, painful lump in my throat I couldn't swallow. Don't you remember being in the hospital? Darry asked. He was trying to change the subject. I shook my head. I don't remember. You kept asking for me and Soda, sometimes for Mom and Dad too, but mostly for Soda. Something in his tone of voice made me look at him, mostly for Soda. Did I ask for Darry at all, or was he just saying that? Darry, I didn't know quite what I wanted to say, but I had a sick feeling that maybe I hadn't called for him while I was delirious. Maybe I only wanted Soda Pop to be with me. What all had I said while I was sick? I couldn't remember. I didn't want to remember. Johnny left you his copy of Gone with the Wind, told the nurse he wanted you to have it. He looked at the paperback lying on the table. I didn't want to finish it. I'd never get past the part where the Southern gentlemen go riding into sure death because they are gallant. Southern gentlemen with big black eyes and blue jeans and t-shirts. Southern gentlemen crumpling under streetlights. Don't remember. Don't try to decide which one died gallant. Don't remember. Where's Soda? I asked, and then I could have kicked myself. Why don't you talk to Darry, you idiot? I said to myself. Why are you so uncomfortable talking to Darry? Asleep, I hope. I thought he was going to go to sleep shaving this morning and cut his throat. I had to push him into bed, but he was out like a light in a second. Darry's hopes that Soda was asleep were immediately ruined because he came running in, clad only in a pair of blue jeans. Hey, Ponyboy, he yelped and leaped for me, but Darry caught him. No rough stuff, little buddy. So Soda had to content himself with bouncing up and down on the bed and pounding on my shoulder. Gosh, but you were sick. You feel okay now? I'm okay, just a little hungry. I should think you would be, Darry said. You wouldn't eat anything most of the time you were sick. How'd you like some mushroom soup? I suddenly realized just how empty I was. Man, I'd like that just fine. I'll go make some. Soda Pop, take it easy on him, okay? Soda looked back at him indignantly. You'd think I was going to challenge him to a track meet or something right off the bat. Oh no, I groaned. Track meet. I guess this is just puts me out of about every race. I won't be back in condition for the meets, and the coach was counting on me. Golly, there'll always be next year, Soda said. Soda never has grasped the importance Darry and I put on athletics. Like he never understood why we went all out for studying. Don't sweat it about some track meet. Soda, I said suddenly. What all did I say while I was delirious? Oh, you thought you were in Windricksville most of the time. Then you kept saying that Johnny didn't mean to kill that Soch. Hey, I didn't know you didn't like bologna. I went cold. I don't like it. I've never liked it. Soda just looked at me. You used to eat it. That's why you wouldn't eat anything while you were sick. You kept saying you don't like bologna, no matter what we were trying to get you to eat. I don't like it, I repeated. Soda, did I ask for Darry while I was sick? Yeah, sure, he said, looking at me strangely. You asked for him and me both, sometimes Mom and Dad, and for Johnny. Oh, I thought maybe I didn't ask for Darry. It was bugging me. Soda grinned. Well, you did, so don't worry. We stayed with you so much the doctor told us we was going to end up in the hospital ourselves if we didn't get some sleep. But we didn't get any anyway. I took a good look at him. He looked completely worn out. There were circles under his eyes, and he had a tense, tired look to him. Yet his dark eyes were still laughing and carefree and reckless. You look beat, I said frankly. I bet you ain't had 3 hours sleep since Saturday night. He grinned but didn't deny it. Scoot over. He crawled over me and flopped down, and before Darry came back into the room with the soup, we were both asleep. End of chapter 10. So chapter 10, of course, for our chapter summary, make sure you put the stuff about what happened with Dallas, and then whatever else you think was important for that chapter. And then for characters, add that in for Dallas's character. Okay, and then let's talk about one more thing. I don't think we've taken any notes on conflict so far. So conflict, of course, is any sort of fighting or struggle in the story. There's 4 basic kinds of conflict, and we'll go over them again when the school year starts, don't worry. But there's character versus character, which of course can be 2 people actually fighting, or just 2 people arguing, or just 2 people mad at each other. Doesn't have to be dramatic, doesn't have to be like a big fight, like an actual fight, but it can be. So how about this? In your notes, put 1 sentence example of character versus character conflict. 2 characters that were either mad at each other, and they yelled at each other, or they physically fought with each other, anything like that, okay? So go ahead and do that. And then, let's talk about one more conflict right now. Let's do character versus self. If character versus character is 2 characters fighting with each other, character versus self, of course, is 1 character mad at themselves. In other words, they feel guilty, they feel depressed, they feel awful, they feel ashamed, they feel anything like that. So think about for our story so far, what's an example of character versus self? Just 1 sentence for each, please, in your notes. Just make sure you label each of them. Character versus character versus self, okay? All right, next week I'm going to be traveling out west. So, I don't know. I'll take the book with me. Maybe if I have a little bit extra time, I might just read the last 2 chapters. They're not that long. And then I'll try and upload it from somewhere out there. But if not, you may not have any uploads next week, maybe when I get back, okay? So, hope everybody's still having a good summer, and take care, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.